This one is the Marine Corps. And you'll notice a little bit more clarity because it's written directly in English by Marines, so it's clearer. And here's the Marine Corps take on friction. Friction dominates war. It makes simple tasks hard, acts constantly to tear down the will of the individual Marine, and interferes with unit cohesion. It operates across the entire spectrum of conflict, from garrison activities to combat, from senior command elements down to the most forward fighting position. So the friction is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's on the front line. Troopers are feeling friction. You know, the senior command has friction. In this day and age, that friction can be loss of connectivity. You know, you're sitting there on the internet when you're trying to communicate with troops that are in the field nowadays. That internet goes down, there's friction. Or your broadband cable gets stuffed up. It's literally, that's friction. Everything is friction. Friction can be caused by external factors, such as physical environment, the nature of the mission, or friendly or enemy action. Inadequate or inaccurate intelligence also contributes to friction by causing uncertainty. This uncertainty is sometimes called the fog of war, where things are not always what the leader expected. This expression describes both the literal fog created by dust, smoke, and debris on the battlefield, and more importantly, the mental fog of confusion and uncertainty created by lack of knowledge of the enemy, chaotic noise, mental and physical fatigue, and fear. And interestingly, Leif and I, the book that we wrote, Extreme Ownership, the first chapter, it's called The Fog of War. And it is, and I talk about this fact right here. It was the literal fog of war because there was burning tires in the streets, creating soot everywhere, and there was concrete dust floating through the air and smoke from machine guns and smoke from smoke grenades. And so there's a literal fog of war where you can't see. And then on top of that, you add the theoretical fog where I didn't know where everyone was and I wasn't sure what was happening. And so this fog of war is so very real. Friction's most lethal form, however, is self-induced and may be termed internal friction. So this, again, it's just incredible how these theories of war parallel life. And although you have these things that are going on in your world that are trying to stop you from achieving your goals, the most lethal form of friction is self-induced. It's what you do to yourself. Fear of the unknown breeds this paralysis. It is best overcome by vigorous leadership, which clearly sets out what is happening, how it is happening, and most importantly, why it is happening. So again, it is almost, I don't know if at some point I'm going to stop being surprised and stop being shocked and stop being amazed in the parallels between war and life. And this is just one of them. Another one of them.
To the self-induced friction.
Yes.
I think a big one that I've kind of noticed most people have this is pet peeves. You know how people have these pet peeves about, like, for example, when people call me boss, you know when people say, "Hey, what's up?"
You
bro,
talked about on the first podcast.
Yeah, so when
Causes some friction with Echo Charles.
Yeah, and it's totally self-induced. No one means anything bad by the word boss. But meanwhile, like, I have this little almost like check against them, because they referred to me as boss or dude. I don't know why dude. Not actually. You know what? If a girl calls me dude, it's like it seems real condescending, even though I figure they don't. But that could jam up the relationship and potentially jam up any kind of task we have. That can be just one little element that'll jam you up. And pet peeves in general, it'll get in people's way.
Yeah, pet peeves are stupid, in my opinion. So you need to correct yourself on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are, I mean, it's we could just sit here and the rest of this podcast could be you and I coming up with the various frictions in life, whether it's wanting to sleep more, wanting to not the gym isn't close enough to my house. You got a million reasons.
Yeah.
You got a million pieces of friction. Countless, or as they say, as the Marine Corps says, countless minor incidents, the kind you can never really foresee, combine to lower the general level of performance so that one always falls short of the intended goal. And this is very similar to Clausewitz here. Iron willpower can overcome this friction. It pulverizes every obstacle, but of course, it wears down the machine as well. You can see they obviously took that directly from Clausewitz. Whatever form it takes, because war is a human enterprise, friction will always have a psychological as well as a physical impact. So you're getting worn. You are getting worn down by the friction. Friction is inevitable. Marine leaders must accept it, do everything in their power to minimize its effects, and learn to fight effectively in spite of it. One of the things that I really like about this term is that it captures everything and it turns everything, it clarifies what you're up against. You're not just up against all these little things. You're up against friction.
Right.
And actually, I was with Joe Rogan, and he talked about this book, The War of Art, which I haven't read yet, by Pressfield.
Yep. Pressfield.
And he does the same thing, but what does he call it? He calls it
Resistance.
resistance. Yeah. And so it's the same idea. You put a name on your enemy, you identify them, whether it's laziness or sugar or lack of movement or whatever that thing is. That's what they do. And it allows you to identify it and be aware of what is happening.
Mm-hmm.